The cameras weren't even live yet, but something in the air already felt off. The audience was buzzing, but under it all, there was a stillness. Like the moment before a thunderstorm, the stage manager's voice cracked through the headset. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. The intro music hit. The iconic table lit up and out walked Jennifer Lopez, radiant in a cream suit that shimmered under the hot studio lights, her ponytail sharp and deliberate. She moved like a queen in full control of her kingdom. But the moment her heels clicked, onto that stage, Whoopi Goldberg didn't smile. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredibly talented, always iconic Jennifer Lopez. Joy Behar chirped. Applause exploded. Jennifer waved, her megawatt smile lighting up the studio. She sat gracefully, as if on a throne. "Thank you so much for being here," Sarah Ann said, genuine and warm. "You look stunning, as always." Jennifer nodded. "Thank you. I'm really happy to be here." Really. But she wasn't ready for what came next. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice low, deliberate. "So, Jennifer, your new album, after all these years, don't you think it might be time to step aside? Let the next generation have their moment?" A beat of silence, the air left the room. Jennifer blinked. Her smile faltered for just a fraction of a second, just long enough for anyone watching closely to catch it. "Excuse me," she said, not angry, yet Whoopi didn't blink. "You've had an amazing career, that's not in question, but isn't there a point where artists start holding others back just by refusing to leave the stage?" The audience murmured. Co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin visibly tensed. Sunny Hostin shifted, lips pressed together. Jennifer's face didn't move, but something in her posture stiffened. "I think there's room for everyone in this industry," she said carefully. "I've always welcomed the next generation. I collaborate with new artists. I mentor, but isn't that what older artists say when they're just trying to hang on?" Whoopi interrupted, voice edged with something that wasn't just opinion, it was challenge. Suddenly, this wasn't about music, it was about legacy. About power? About relevance. Before we go any further, let me say this. You might want to hit that like button, share this moment, subscribe, because what's about to unfold is not just another interview. This is a cultural collision, and you're going to want to witness every second of it. Back at the table, the tension was thick enough to slice. Joy tried to jump in. "I think what Jennifer is doing with her new music is actually really exciting." "Joy, please," Whoopi cut her off, dismissing her with a wave. "We can be polite later. Right now, let's be real." Jennifer turned, eyes narrowing. "Are you saying I should stop making music?" Whoopi leaned back in her chair. "I'm saying maybe you should recognize when your chapter's over." Sarah Haynes's mouth opened slightly. Alyssa scribbled something nervously on her notepad. Sunny Hostin's eyebrows shot up. Jennifer's hands were folded, but you could see the knuckles whitening. "I've spent my entire life evolving," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "That's why I'm still here. That's why people still care." Or maybe Whoopi shot back, "You're just really good at marketing the same product in different packaging." A low gasp rippled through the studio audience. Jennifer tilted her head just slightly. "So, let me get this straight. You invited me here to question whether I deserve to be here." "I invited you here," Whoopi said coldly, "to have a real conversation." The word real hit the table like a gavel. Jennifer's smile disappeared entirely. "Then let's be real," she said, voice tight. "You've been passive-aggressively insulting me since I walked in." "Passive-aggressive?" Whoopi laughed. "I'm being direct." "No," Jennifer snapped. "You're being cruel." The audience was stunned. Even the stagehands had stopped moving. A camera operator subtly zoomed in on Jennifer's face, her eyes burning. "Let's talk about talent," she continued. The performer now gone, the woman behind the brand stepping forward. "I started dancing when I was 5. I was a backup dancer before I ever sang a note. I've trained, I've studied, I've bled for this career." Whoopi crossed her arms. "A lot of people bleed. Doesn't mean they're relevant." Jennifer leaned in. "And who made you the gatekeeper of relevance?" "I'm just speaking for the people," Whoopi shrugged. "Oh, please," Jennifer said, her voice rising. "You're speaking for yourself and whatever bitterness you've been carrying." That landed. Whoopi's eyes flashed. Sunny tried again, her voice pleading. "Can we maybe talk about the tour, Jennifer? The stage design, the fans?" "I would love to," Jennifer said, eyes never leaving Whoopi. But apparently I'm not an artist. I'm just noise. Whoopi shrugged again, but her tone had turned venomous. You said it, not me. Jennifer looked away, blinked hard, then turned back. You know what? I've spent decades building something. I've failed. I've succeeded. I've rebuilt. I've survived. And I'm not going to be lectured by someone who hasn't had a hit in 20 years. That was it. The gloves were off. Whoopi stood up. I've won an Oscar, Jennifer, and I've sold out stadiums. Jennifer shot back. Which one of us has fans screaming our names right now? A gasp, then silence. Then applause. Real, raw, spontaneous applause. Whoopi looked to the audience, then back at Jennifer. Is that what this is about? She said, voice low. Applause. Headlines, staying in the spotlight. No, Jennifer said, standing too. It's about respect. Suddenly, all the co-hosts were on their feet. Okay, Sarah said. Let's take a second here. Don't you dare tell me to calm down, Jennifer snapped, eyes wide. Ladies, Joy interjected, waving toward the crew. We need to take a break. No break, Whoopi said, loud. Let's finish this. Jennifer took a breath, and then, quieter, What did I ever do to you? Whoopi's expression cracked, just for a second. Something flickered. Then she said, voice hard again, You became everything I despise about this industry. And with that, the studio fell silent once more. Cameras kept rolling. The world was watching. What began as an interview had turned into a televised war. Ego versus legacy, image versus substance, woman versus woman. And this was only the beginning. Jennifer's jaw clenched. You became everything I despise about this industry. The words hung in the air like smoke. Whoopi didn't flinch, but the audience reacted like they'd been slapped. A sharp inhale, a few nervous chuckles. Even the cameraman closest to the table hesitated before adjusting the angle. No one wanted to miss what was happening. Jennifer took a slow step forward, her hands trembling slightly, not with fear, but restraint. Say that again, she whispered. Say it again, to my face. I don't need to repeat myself, Whoopi replied, arms still crossed, her stance unmoved. You heard me. Alyssa Farrah Griffin looked at Joy like she was silently begging her to step in. Joy shook her head almost imperceptibly. Not yet, Jennifer's voice dropped lower. You sit there on your pedestal and pretend like you're the moral compass of Hollywood, but you're just another gatekeeper, another bitter woman trying to tear down the next generation so she doesn't have to face her own reflection. Sunny Hostin gasped softly. The audience shifted. You could feel 100 people trying to hold their breath all at once. Whoopi leaned forward, eyes narrowing. You think I'm bitter because I tell the truth? No, Jennifer said, her voice sharp. You're bitter because the world moved on, and you're still sitting here trying to pretend you're the only voice that matters. Sarah N. tried again, this time her voice trembling. Maybe we could. Just cool things down a bit. But neither woman acknowledged her. Jennifer took another step forward. Now, standing behind her chair, you invited me here for a takedown. You knew exactly what you were doing. You dressed it up like a real conversation, but it was a trap. I didn't invite you here at all, Whoopi said, voice steely. The producers did. I just refused to kiss your ass like everyone. Else you think people kiss my ass, Jennifer shot back. You think working 3 decades, dancing until your body screams, losing your voice in rehearsals, getting up at 5 a.m. for set calls, raising kids while the world tears you apart? You think that's people kissing my ass? You're rewarded for the performance of hard work, Whoopi said, not the reality of it, performance. Jennifer blinked, and then her voice cracked, not from weakness, but rage. You have no idea what I've been through. What? I've sacrificed the years I spent not knowing how I'd pay my bills, the auditions I bombed, the labels that told me I wasn't black enough, or Latina enough, or skinny enough to ever be anything more than a backup dancer. Whoopi's face didn't change, but her eyes shifted subtly, a flicker of something, not guilt, not remorse, but recognition. I came from nothing, Jennifer continued, and I didn't cheat to get here. I didn't sleep my way up. I didn't ride anyone's coattails. I outworked everyone. Maybe Whoopi said flatly, or maybe you just got really good at selling the idea of yourself. That was the hit, the kind that echoes. Jennifer's lips parted, her eyes wide. You think this is an idea? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. You think I'm pretending to be who I am. I think you've built a brand so polished, even you believe it now, Whoopi said. But let's be honest, strip away the glam. Strip away the entourage, the lighting, the costumes. What's left? Jennifer's fists clenched at her sides. I'll tell you what's left, she said. A woman, a mother, a survivor, an artist, a fighter. Someone who has never stopped believing in her own voice, even when people like you tried to silence it. A beat past pause, long enough for everyone in the room to feel like they were intruding on something too raw to witness. Then joy. The hair finally broke. Okay, enough. This isn't an interview anymore. This is a damn duel. Neither Jennifer nor Whoopi looked at her. Sunny stood. I agree. This is hostile. This is inappropriate. We're supposed to lift women on this show, not tear them apart. Then maybe she shouldn't have come here dressed for a photo shoot and expecting a compliment reel, Whoopi said, still not blinking. Jennifer's laugh was sharp, almost manic. Oh, so now it's what I wore. Sarah stood too. This isn't who we are. Whoopi, please. No, Jennifer cut in. Let her speak. Clearly she's been dying to say these things to me for years. Whoopi's hands slowly lowered to her sides. You want to know the truth? She asked. You're not the problem, Jennifer. You're the symptom. A collective hush. You're the result of an industry that values image over depth, headlines over substance, glitter over grit. You're not dangerous because of your talent. You're dangerous because of what you represent. Jennifer was silent. Then she asked, And what do I represent, Whoopi? Whoopi hesitated. For the first time, slightly unsure, you represent the lie we sell to girls, that success is sparkle, that perfection is attainable, that fame equals worth. Jennifer stepped around the table. Not aggressively, just there. Closing the distance, I represent the truth that we can do it all, she said. That we don't have to choose between being beautiful and being smart. That we can be performers and entrepreneurs. That we can be mothers and moguls. That we can take up space without asking for permission. And yet here you are, Whoopi said, softer now, begging for validation on morning TV. Jennifer froze. That landed two. And then, from somewhere in the audience, a voice yelled, She doesn't need your validation. A moment of chaos. Cheers! Claps! Someone else shouted, We love you, J. Lo. Jennifer's eyes watered, but she blinked the tears back fast. I didn't come here for validation, she said to the crowd, then looked back to Whoopi. I came here to share my story, but you hijacked it. Whoopi shook her head. No, you came here to be worshipped, and when you weren't, you cracked. Jennifer stepped closer, now only a foot away from her. You don't get to decide how I tell my story. You don't get to reduce me to tabloid headlines and red carpet shots. I'm not reducing you, Whoopi replied, finally standing to. I'm revealing you. Then silence again, the kind that demands a resolution. A pivot. Anything to break the deadlock. And then, just as the producers were about to cut to commercial, Jennifer Lopez leaned forward and whispered something off-mic. Whoopi, single quotes, eyes widened. Her mouth parted. She didn't respond. Joy blinked. What did she say? But Jennifer turned, her heels clicking loudly as she returned to her seat. I said, she spoke now into her mic, I hope you find peace, because whatever this is, this bitterness, it's eating you alive. The crowd murmured. A soft ripple of applause began, cautious at first, then rising in volume, and then suddenly, Whoopi sat back down quiet. She didn't speak. She didn't smirk. She just stared. Jennifer exhaled and looked to Sunny. You wanted to hear about the tour? Sunny nodded, her voice shaking slightly. Yes, please. Jennifer smiled, gently this time, wounded human. We're building something beautiful, for the fans, for the music, not for the headlines. And just like that, the war paused. But it wasn't over, not even close. Sunny's voice cracked slightly as she tried to pull the room out of its collective freefall. Jennifer, I just want to say thank you. For sharing that, for staying. Jennifer nodded once. Her hands still trembled slightly beneath the table. Her fingers gripped the edge, white-knuckled. Across from her, Whoopi sat stiffly, arms crossed again, chin tilted up, but she was no longer in control of the room. The balance of power had shifted quietly, but unmistakably. Jennifer's voice was low, but steady. The tour is about reclaiming joy after everything. It's about giving something real to the people who've stood by me. And what would you say? Alyssa asked cautiously, clearly walking a tightrope to the people who think the glamour has overshadowed the music. Jennifer looked at her directly. I'd say maybe they've been listening with the wrong ears, or watching with the wrong eyes. That answer landed softer than the previous verbal grenades, but its edge was still there. Joy tried to inject a hint of levity. You know, I remember back when Selena came out, people said, she's got something, not just talent, drive, fire. Jennifer smiled, and for a second, it was real, not defensive, not performative, just real. That role changed everything, she said, but it also taught me how fast people want to put you in a box. A Latina. Oh, she's only here for a moment. A dancer. She's not really a singer. A singer, well, she can't really act, and it never stops. Every step forward, someone was waiting to push me back. Then why keep doing it? Whoopi's voice cut in again, low and pointed. If it's such a struggle, if the world is so unfair, why not walk away? Bow out gracefully. Jennifer turned to her slowly, her expression shifting into something almost sad because little girls are watching. The room froze. The words dropped like an anchor. Because when I was that little girl, Jennifer continued, her voice thickening, there was no one on magazine covers who looked like me. No one on TV who sounded like my mother. No one singing. In Spanish, at the Grammys, without it being called world music, like it didn't belong, she looked toward the studio audience, catching the eyes of a few women wiping away tears. So, I stay. I keep showing up. Because maybe the next little girl won't feel like she's intruding. Whoopi sat back, lips pressed tight. Sunny clapped. Softly, Alyssa joined. Then joy. The audience followed. Not thunderous, but genuine. And just when it seemed things might begin to cool, Whoopi spoke again. But isn't that also convenient? Jennifer turned slowly, eyes narrowed again. What's convenient? To frame it all as service, as if you're doing this for them, as if your success is selfless. It's branding. Jennifer. Powerful branding, but branding all the same. Sarah shook her head. Come on, no, Jennifer said, cutting her off gently. Let her finish, please. Whoopi obliged. I'm not saying you haven't worked hard. I'm not saying you don't deserve your place. But don't pretend you're not fully aware of how the machine works. You feed it just like everyone else. Sometimes more. Jennifer leaned forward now, elbows on the table, eyes locked. You want the real truth? She said, you think? This machine made me. I built this machine. I didn't come from it. It wasn't waiting for me with open arms. I had to break in, bolt the doors behind me, and build the rest of the damn building. A silence dropped again, but this one pulsed with heat. You think I enjoy every red carpet, every late-night appearance, every headline about my personal life? No, but I do it because if I don't stay visible, I disappear. And if I disappear, all the girls who look like me, they disappear too. Whoopi's fingers drummed the table, her only visible movement. Joy looked toward the control booth. Someone behind the glass held up a hand. Let it go. This is gold. Sarah hesitated, then leaned in. Whoopi, you've blazed trails too. You know what it's like to be underestimated. Whoopi exhaled. I do. So why not lift another woman up, instead of tearing her down? Sarah's voice trembled now, but her words were brave. Why this hostility? I'm not hostile, Whoopi said, her voice flat. I'm realistic. Jennifer shot back instantly. No, you're resentful. Whoopi's face tightened. Be very careful. No, I will not be careful, Jennifer snapped. Because I came here in good faith. I came to promote work I'm proud of, not to be dressed down like I stole something from you. Maybe it feels that way, Whoopi said. Maybe it feels like you walked in and took space that people fought for decades to even earn a foot in. Jennifer laughed. But it wasn't. Joyful. It was pained. I'm not standing on anyone's shoulders. I'm standing on my own damn feet. A burst of applause then. Suddenly, Whoopi slammed her hand on the table. Then act like it, she shouted. Stop begging for validation every time someone challenges you. Jennifer stood. I'm not begging. I'm defending myself from someone who decided I wasn't worthy the second I walked on this stage, and maybe I wasn't wrong. And now the audience groaned. Visibly, loudly, Sarah gasped. Alyssa covered her mouth. Jennifer's voice shook with rage. "You don't even know me!" "I know enough," Whoopi said. "No," Jennifer whispered. "You know a version one you made up, one that fits whatever narrative you need to stay comfortable in your place at this table." "Careful," Whoopi said again. "Why are you going to throw me out, embarrass me further, make me the villain in your story?" Joy Behar finally stood. "Enough. We're cutting to break now," Jennifer said. "Let's finish this." The entire audience was on edge. "You're not going to silence me. Not now, not ever." She looked down the table, then squarely at Whoopi. "You came here to expose me. Fine, but now everyone sees you." Whoopi's mouth opened, but no words. Came out silence. For the first time, Whoopi had no comeback, and the show went to commercial. But the cameras, they were still rolling. The red light on the camera blinked back on. The view had returned from commercial, but the energy in the room hadn't reset, not even close. Gone were the smiles. Gone was the easy rhythm of daytime banter, vibrating silence. Joy Behar's voice was the first to break through, brittle and strained. We're back live with Jennifer Lopez, and let's continue the conversation." But it wasn't a conversation anymore. It was war. Jennifer sat upright, every inch of her body composed but her eyes. Her eyes were still full of fire. Whoopi leaned slightly back, arms crossed again, but this time her shoulders weren't quite as square. Her posture had shifted, slightly, almost imperceptibly, like a fortress after a cannonball strike. Sunny Hostin was the first to speak. Gently, "Jennifer, you don't have to respond to anything else if you don't want to, but—" Jennifer shook her head. "No, I want to finish this. I need to finish this." She turned back to Whoopi, not with anger now, but with something deeper. Tired, wounded, clear. "You don't get to define me." Whoopi raised an eyebrow. "I never tried to define you." Jennifer didn't blink. "Yes, you did. Over and over. With every word, every insinuation, every dig about my career, my worth, my right to be sitting here. You tried to reduce me to a brand, to a symbol, to a ... problem." The audience held its collective breath. Whoopi said nothing. Jennifer continued, "But I'm not a problem, I'm a person, and you don't get to rewrite my story just because you don't like how it turned out." Whoopi opened her mouth, but Jennifer raised her hand, not rudely, calmly. "Let me say this, please." Whoopi paused, then nodded. Slowly, Jennifer inhaled, shaky but determined. "I grew up in a Bronx apartment with 6 people sharing 2 bedrooms. I walked to dance, classes in hand-me-down sneakers with holes in the soles. I was told no more times than I can count. I've been mocked, dismissed, sexualized, and underestimated every step of the way. And you know what? I kept going." Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. "I kept showing up, because I knew there was a girl out there watching. Me. A girl who looked like me. A girl who felt invisible." The camera cut to the audience. A Latina mother in the 3rd row wiped her tears. Her daughter beside her clutched her hand. Jennifer's gaze swept across the table. "I've made mistakes. I've had flops. I've been messy. I've also built something no one thought I could without a blueprint, without privilege, without protection." She turned to Whoopi again. "You've walked your own path, one that inspired millions, including me, but today, you used your seat not to empower, but to tear down. And maybe you don't see it. Maybe you think you're being honest. But what you were was cruel." Whoopi's jaw clenched. Joy Behar looked like she might cry. Sunny Hostin nodded. Visibly emotional, Jennifer looked down at her hands, exhaled slowly, then back up. "And despite all that, I still respect what you've done. I still see your legacy. I just wish for one moment you could have seen mine." Whoopi didn't respond. Her face was unreadable. The silence stretched then. She finally spoke. "I see it." A pause. "Don't agree with all of it, but I see it." The audience audibly gasped. Jennifer stared. Whoopi continued, her voice low, quieter than anyone had ever heard on the show. "I let my guard down a long time ago. The business wore me out. I stopped trusting people who showed up, polished and praised, because I forgot what it was like to be celebrated without suspicion." She looked down, her voice cracking just slightly. That's on me. Now the air changed again. It softened. Just enough. Jennifer blinked, surprised. Whoopi wasn't apologizing. Not exactly. But she wasn't dodging either. Jennifer nodded. Slowly, I didn't come here to fight. I know. And then, a silence that didn't hurt. For the first time all morning, Joy, sensing the temperature shift, finally smiled weakly. Well, damn. I think I need a cigarette, and I haven't smoked since 1998. The audience laughed. Real laughter. Cleansing laughter. The tension broke like glass underfoot. Sonny reached over, gently squeezed Jennifer's hand. Thank you for staying. For speaking. Jennifer smiled. This time it was genuine, warm, exhausted, but proud. Thank you for letting me. Joy turned to the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply aware that today's interview took some unexpected turns, but sometimes daytime television can still deliver moments that matter. Jennifer leaned forward one last time. And if you're watching this, if you've ever felt like you didn't belong in the room, like your voice wasn't worth hearing, like your story didn't matter, I promise you, it does. She looked directly into the lens. The studio was silent again. So if you felt something today, if any part of this spoke to your heart, then do something about it. Speak louder, shine brighter, and support the stories that deserve to be heard. Tears slid down her cheek. She didn't wipe it. Subscribe. Share this. Not for me. For the voices coming next. The screen faded to a wide shot of the studio, applause swelling, audience standing. Hosts still shaken but united. Jennifer Lopez stood, and as she walked off the set, this time, no one stopped her. No accusations, no gaslighting, no doubt, just silence and truth.